A very good evening, aspirants. Welcome to Daily Newspaper Analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 16th of February 2024. Now, before looking at the list of articles, I have an important announcement to make. See, yesterday, Shankar IAS Academy's Pre-Fit Test Batch 2 started. And as you all know, this particular test series contains 63 tests in which you will be writing tests for 50 questions per day for the next 60 days. The 63 test contains all the half test, revision test and full test, and along with CSAT and mock test. The test will be on offline and online mode. If you want to try 100 questions, we have that option too. For offline batch, tests will be starting in Anna Nagar like around 7 a.m. in the morning. So what are you waiting for? Use this last chance to place your name in the qualified name list of prelims. Displayed here are the list of news articles that we are going to discuss today. So without much delay, let us get into the first news article discussion. Look at this front page article. See, in a landmark unanimous judgment, the Supreme Court struck down the electoral bond scheme. The court said that the scheme is unconstitutional and manifestly arbitrary. It reasoned that by providing blanket anonymity to political donors and allowing rich corporations to make unlimited political donations, the scheme violates the fundamental principles of the Constitution. So this is the crux of the news article given here. In this news article discussion, let us see in detail about the Supreme Court judgment regarding the electoral bonds and analyze about the implications of the judgment using our mains answer writing approach. Let me read out the question for you. Discuss the grounds on which the electoral bonds were declared unconstitutional. What are the implications of the judgment? See, this question can be asked in mains GS paper 2 under the syllabus structure, organization and functioning of the executive and judiciary. See, this question is a very straightforward question. Firstly, it asks us to discuss the grounds on which the electoral bonds were declared unconstitutional. And in the second part, we need to discuss about the possible implications of the judgment. So in the introduction, you can write few facts about the electoral bonds. You can write that electoral bonds are instruments used to donate funds to political parties. It was introduced in 2018 as part of Finance Bill 2017. As you all know, the scheme allowed any individual or entity to purchase electoral bonds from SBI in denomination of 1000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, 1 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees and 1 crore rupees. Subsequently, they can donate them to any registered political party with complete anonymity to the public. Even though it was aimed to cleanse the political funding in India, various pleas were filed in Supreme Court challenging its negativity. So on hearing them, the Supreme Court gave a landmark verdict declaring it unconstitutional. So you can write these points in the introduction part. Now moving on to the main body of the answer. Here, as I already said, in the first part you have to write about the reasons why Supreme Court declared it unconstitutional. So let's see the reasons for the verdict. See, the first and foremost reason given by Supreme Court is that the electoral bonds were permitting anonymous political donations. It states that by doing so, it infringed upon the fundamental rights to information under Article 19, Clause 1A of the Constitution. Apart from this, the scheme hides the source of funding of political parties from the public, which is a fundamental right guaranteed under Article 19, Clause 1A. Secondly, the electoral bond scheme amended the Companies Act and allowed for a blanket corporate funding. Here, let us see a background of it to understand better. See, electoral bond scheme amended Section 182 of the Companies Act 2013 to permit unlimited political contribution by companies. Earlier, it was capped at 7.5% of the average profit of the preceding 3 financial year. Additionally, the corporates should disclose the names of the political parties which received donations in their profit and loss accounts. But the Finance Act 2017 removes all these restrictions. So the court made an important observation that Section 182 is erroneous in treating political contributions by individuals at par with those made by companies. See, this is an issue because the companies often donate with an intention to quid pro quo, or in simple words, with the intention of securing benefits in return, unlike the small donations which are made for ideologies, leaders, and etc. Thirdly, with respect to the political transparency, see, before the electoral bond scheme, the section 29C of the Representation of the People Act 1951 required all parties to declare all contributions higher than 20,000 rupees to the public. However, they should specify whether they were received from individual person or from companies. But the Finance Act 2017 amended this provision to create an exception. Through this exception, the parties need not disclose donations received through electoral bonds. The Supreme Court quashed this amendment, saying that the provision to disclose contribution of more than 20,000 rupees is efficient. This is because it effectively balanced the voter's right to information with the right to privacy of donors. Fourthly, the court reasoned that the scheme violates the principles of equality. See, the electoral bonds discriminate between different political parties based on their vote share. The CJA say that it gave unfair advantage to the ruling party and the major opposition parties while excluding the smaller and regional parties. So for all these reasons, the Supreme Court struck down the electoral bond scheme 2018. So you can write these points in the first part of the body. Moving on to the second part of the body, here you have to write about the implications of the judgment. Firstly, you can write that it will ensure transparency and accountability of political funding. See, the judgment ensures that the information about the source and amount of funding through electoral bonds are made public. So naturally, this will enable the public and civil society to scrutinize the funding and hold the political parties accountable to their policies. Secondly, it will reduce the possible influence of corporations. See, critics of the electoral bond scheme always argue that these bonds will enable corporations and healthy individuals to influence the political parties and subsequently governmental policies. So by reverting back to disclosed norms, the court ensured the balance between right to public and corporates. Thirdly, it will ensure electoral integrity. See, the Election Commission is asked to publish the details of electoral bonds on its official website by March 13. This move will throw light on the complete darkness associated with bonds. Now the voters will understand about the donors of the party and take informed decisions in the elections. Finally, it is one of the many electoral reforms initiated by the court, like introducing nota, asking the parties to publish the criminal antecedents of the candidate and etc. This verdict will ensure equality between the smaller and bigger parties and thus ensure a free and fair election. So you can write these points in the second half of the answer. Now moving on to the conclusion part, here you can write that the Supreme Court's judgment on electoral bonds is a historic and landmark verdict that upholds the democratic principles of the society and constitutional rights of the citizenry. The verdict should be followed with a complete disclosure of all information about the donor to the public. Moreover, it should be a Newton's apple moment for our democracy to keep continuing the electoral reforms to make the elections free from the money politics nexus and make it a free and fair one. So you can write these points for this particular question. So in this news article discussion, we saw in detail about the reasons why Supreme Court repealed electoral bonds and we saw the implications of the judgment. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Take a look at this news article. Recently, dozens of northern pintail and plovers have been found dead in Pulicat Lake. The Forest Department suspect that the deaths could be due to fertilizer or pesticide ingestion. So the death of these birds have raised alarms about the health and safety of this crucial ecosystem. So in this news article discussion, let us understand in brief about brackish water ecosystem, its feature and important locations in India. Firstly, know that brackish water is the salinity level between freshwater and seawater, meaning it has a salt content higher than freshwater but lower than seawater. The exact salinity level of brackish water can vary depending on location, climate and season. For example, brackish water near the coast may have a higher salinity level due to the influence of seawater. Also remember, brackish water is found in various environments including estuaries, lagoons, mangrove swamps and tidal flats. It can also be found in underground aquifers near coastal areas. Brackish water contains high dissolved salts and minerals. Hence, drinking brackish water can lead to health problems including dehydration and mineral imbalances. However, brackish water is essential for the survival of many species. It provides a unique habitat for aquatic organisms that cannot survive in freshwater or saltwater environment. Some common species found in brackish water include mangroves, estuarine crocodiles, and various fish species like mullet and catfish. Remember, brackish water also provides an important breeding ground for many fish and shellfish species. So these are all some of the important features of brackish waters. Now let us see important locations where they are found. See, first one is Chilika Lake. This lake is located on the eastern coast of India in Odisha. Remember, it is Asia's largest and the world's second largest lagoon. It is a hotspot for biodiversity and a Ramsar site. This indicates its global importance as a wetland. It is also home to the Irrawaddy dolphins. Second one is Pulicat Lake. See, this lake is located in the border between Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. It is the second largest brackish water lake in India. Pulicat Lake is known for its diverse bird life including flamingos and other migratory waterfowl that visit during the winter months. Third one is Vemanad Lake. See, it is India's largest lake and the largest lake in Kerala as well. This lake is recognized as a Ramsar site for its ecological importance. Vemanad Lake is well known for the annual Nehru Trophy boat race and supports a complex networks of backwaters which are a major tourist attraction. Fourth one is Kolleru. See, it is located between Krishna and Godavari Delta in Andhra Pradesh. Once the largest freshwater lake in India, now a mixed freshwater and brackish water lake due to connection with the sea. It is a designated wildlife sanctuary and a Ramsar site. Fifth one is Sundarbans. See, this is located in the delta region of the Ganges, Brahmaputra and Meghna river on the Bay of Bengal. Although more famous for its mangrove forest, the Sundarban area include a complex network of tidal waterways, mudflats and small islands of mangrove forest. Remember, it is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, home to the Royal Bengal tiger and numerous species of birds, fish and reptiles. So these are all some of the important brackish water lakes in India. In this news article discussion, we saw about the features of brackish water and some of the important locations that you have to remember for the prelims examination. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Take a look at this news article from Indian Express. This article talks about the recent judgment of Supreme Court which stated that denying RTI on electoral bonds is unconstitutional. So in this news article discussion, let us go through the basics of RTI Act from the prelims perspective. Firstly, know that the Right to Information or the RTI is an act of the Parliament enacted on 15th June 2005. It sets out the rules and procedures regarding citizens' right to information. See, the very foundation of this act has its basis in the fundamental rights of citizen to information under Article 19. Remember, it replaced the former Freedom of Information Act 2002. So under the provisions of this act, any citizen can access the information held by or under the control of any public authority. So this will empower citizens by bringing about transparency and accountability in governance, and it encourages public participation in the democratic process. So with this basic understanding about the RTI Act, now let us see some of the major provisions of the Act. See, firstly, know that here information means any material in any form which includes records, documents, memos, emails, opinions, advices, public release, circulars, orders, logbook, contracts, reports, papers, samples and models. This is as per Section 2 of the RTI Act. Secondly, according to Section 4 of the RTI Act, it requires suo motu disclosure of information by each public authority. Here, suo motu means on its own motion. The purpose of suo motu disclosure is to place large amount of information in public domain on a proactive basis to make the functioning of the public authorities more transparent and also to reduce the need for filing individual RTI applications. Apart from these two important provisions, Section 8 of the RTA Act mentions exceptions against furnishing information under RTA Act. Some of such exceptions include information affecting security of India, sovereignty, scientific and economic interest of the state, foreign relation, strategic interest, information attracting contempt of court, breach of privilege of parliament and legislatures, and info regarding intellectual property. Apart from this, it provides for disclosure of information exempted under Official Secret Act 1928 if larger public interest is served. Section 20 of the RTA Act says that the CIC and the State Information Commissioner can impose penalty. So with this we shall see how the Act functions in detail. See, the RTA Act has a 3-tier structure having Chief Information Commissioner at the top. Any document that request for public information requires ₹10 in cash to be paid or through bank draft or cash request or court expense stamp. Then the request for public information goes to Assistant Public Information Officer and Public Information Officer designated by the public authorities. See, these authorities have to provide information within 30 days. If in case the matter involves a petitioner's life and liberty, then the information has to be provided within 48 hours. So if the request or denied, then it will be appealed to the appellate authority. Finally, State Information Commissioner and the Chief Information Commissioner will listen to the appeal against the order of the appellate authority. So this is how the RTA Act functions. Now let us see some of the recent amendments made to the RTA Act in 2019. See, the 2019 amendment have amended various sections like 13, 16 and 27 of the RTA Act. This will empower central and state governments to control Information Commissioner, compensation and working conditions. The central government will now prescribe the tenure of the Central Chief Information Commissioner CIC and Information Commissioners IC. So this was previously fixed at 5 years or until the age of 65, whichever is earlier. So by amending Section 13 of the RTA Act 2005, these new provisions were made. Secondly, the central government will now determine the salary and allowance of the Central Chief Information Commissioner CIC and Information Commissioner IC, which were previously equal to those of the Chief Election Commissioner CEC and Election Commissioner EC. Now let us quickly see about the important challenge with respect to the RTA Act. See, the recent report card portray 3.2 lakh pending cases, then vacancies of public authorities and non-disclosure of information by authorities. In addition to this, right to privacy further restricts use to RTIs regarding public authorities. So these are all very important facts that you have to remember about RTA Act. Since it appeared in the judgment, there is very high possibility to ask a question in the prelims. That is why we made an effort to pinpoint all the sections of the Act in detail. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Look at this news article. According to the news article, for the upcoming Rajya Sabha elections for 4 seats in Karnataka, the ruling Congress has filed 3 candidates and BJP and JDS have filed each 1 candidate. So this is the crux of the news article given here. In this context, let us see some of the basics about Rajya Sabha elections. See, Article 80 of the Constitution lays down the maximum strength of Rajya Sabha as 250. Out of these 250 seats, 12 members are nominated by the President and 38 are representatives of the state and of the 2 union territories. However, the present strength of Rajya Sabha is 245, out of which 233 are representatives of the state and union territories of Delhi and Puducherry and 12 are nominated by the President. Remember, the members nominated by the President are members having special knowledge or practical experience in respect of such matters like literature, science, art and social service. Lastly, the 4th schedule of the Constitution deals with the allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha to the states and union territories. So with these basics, now let us see about the election process of Rajya Sabha. See, firstly, we shall see the eligibility to contest Rajya Sabha election. The Constitution lays down the following qualifications for a MP. They are, firstly, he or she must be a citizen of India. Secondly, he should make an oath or affirmation before the person authorized by the Election Commission for this purpose. Secondly, he should be not less than 30 years of age to be a member of Rajya Sabha. And and finally he must possess other qualification prescribed by the Parliament. Apart from this, the Parliament has laid down the following additional qualifications in the Representative of People's Act 1951. Firstly, he must be registered as an elector for a parliamentary constituency. This is the same in the case of both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Note an important point that earlier there was a norm if a candidate contesting for Rajya Sabha from Tamil Nadu, then he should be an elector in Tamil Nadu. See, this was removed in 2003. Secondly, he must be a member of a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe in any state or union territory if he want to contest a seat reserved for them. Now let us quickly go through the process of election of Rajya Sabha. See, the representatives of state and union territory in the Rajya Sabha are elected by the method of indirect election. It is contested on the basis of the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. Remember, the Rajya Sabha members of each state and 2 union territories are elected by the elected members of the Legislative Assembly of that state and union territory. So in this process, each MLA's vote is counted only once. So to win a Rajya Sabha seat, a candidate should get a required number of votes as decided by the formula. The formula for the required vote is equal to total number of vote, the whole divided by number of Rajya Sabha seats plus 1, and the answer will be added plus 1. But remember, Rajya Sabha is a permanent house and it is not subjected to dissolution. However, 1/3 member of Rajya Sabha retires every second year. So elections are held periodically to fill these posts. But a member is elected, he will be serving for a period of 6 years. Remember, if any vacancy arises due to reasons other than expiry of term like death, resignation, disqualification due to political defection, then by-election will be conducted to fill up such vacancies. Remember, a member elected in a by-election remains a member for the remainder of the term of the member who has vacated due to the above reasons. So these are all very important static facts that you have to remember about Rajya Sabha elections. Make note of it. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next part of the news article discussion, which is the preliminary practice question discussion. Now look at this first question. With reference to finance bill and money bill in Indian Parliament, consider the following statements. 3 statements are given and you have to find how many statements given here are correct. First statement says finance bill can be introduced only in Lok Sabha. This statement is correct. Second statement says Rajya Sabha can only make recommendations to the money bill. This statement is also correct. In the third statement says in the case of disagreement between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, there is a joint sitting available for both bills. See, this statement is incorrect because a joint sitting is not possible for money bill at all. So the correct answer for this question is option B, only 2. Moving on, this question is about RTI Act 2005. 4 statements are given and you have to find how many statements given here is or are correct. See here, all the statements given are incorrect. It is not a constitutional body and the information are provided within 30 working days. Information required or not free of cost, you have to pay a minimal amount of ₹10, and even the information from Official Secrets Act can be disclosed. So here the correct answer for the question is option D, none. So with this we came to the end of the news article discussion. If you like the video, hit like, do comment and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now thank you so much for listening.